So I want you to imagine a scenario for a second. Picture having to, literally break into a $10,000 a night Greek villa.
Which is already a wild start.
Right, and you are hauling yourself over this rough concrete terrace ledge. Your knees are completely scraping against the stone, and your primary concern, aside from, getting arrested, is that you are about to completely ruin your brand new $700 Stella Alonso designer dress.
A tragedy in its own right, honestly.
Truly. And you are executing this highly illegal, deeply unglamorous maneuver, risking life, limb, and luxury couture for one highly specific mission, to dump a massive bowl of freezing ice water directly onto the face of a sleeping billionaire who is refusing to catch a flight.
It is certainly a dramatic way to guarantee a wake-up call.
Yeah.
Though, considering the power dynamics at play there, the HR paperwork for that kind of employee-client interaction would be an absolute nightmare.
Oh, a total nightmare. But that HR nightmare is a woman named Sloane Kensington, and she is the reluctant architect of today's subject. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are digging into the source material for King of Sloth by Anna Huang.
Yes, the fourth installment in her wildly popular Kings of Sin series.
Exactly. For those of you tracking this interconnected universe, this is book 4. And our mission today is to really figure out how this text takes these massive, incredibly popular romance frameworks, billionaire romance, forced proximity, and the absolute gold standard, opposites attract, and essentially hollows them out.
Hollows them out to build something entirely different inside.
Yeah. We're looking at how those familiar glossy tropes are basically weaponized to explore profound, heavy themes. We're talking complex grief, inherited family trauma, and just the crushing weight of public expectations.
It's a remarkably layered text. On the surface, it absolutely provides the quick-witted banter, the steam, and the luxurious escapism that readers of the genre expect.
Right? Oh, for sure. You get all the trappings.
Right. You have high-powered publicists, Colombian billionaires, private jets to London, sprawling estates. But the really fascinating part, the psychological depth beneath that glossy surface, is what warrants our analysis today.
Totally. Because the characters are operating with these defense mechanisms that are incredibly realistic.
And, frankly, highly relatable once you strip away the billionaire trappings.
So let's actually start right there, with those defense mechanisms, by looking at the specific friction between our two leads, like the immovable object meeting the unstoppable force.
The setup.
Right, the setup. Let's start with Sloane Kensington. The source material paints this incredibly vivid picture of a woman whose entire existence is basically a monument to control.
Yes. She is a high-powered, fiercely intelligent publicist in New York, and her physical presentation is essentially her armor.
Right, we're talking impeccable tailored designer dresses, and her hair is perpetually pulled back into a bun so tight it practically cuts off circulation.
The physical description is vital because it directly reflects her internal state. Sloane is not just any publicist. She's a Kensington.
Right, as in the daughter of George Kensington III.
Exactly, a massive New York investment tycoon.
Yeah.
But she is completely estranged from that family.
Which is a huge deal in their world.
Oh, definitely. The text notes that barrels of ink have been spilled in the society pages speculating about this rift. So if you consider the psychological irony here, Sloane is a woman who literally controls and sanitizes narratives for a living, right?
Yeah, that's her whole job.
While constantly outrunning her own family's messy, highly public narrative. Her absolute, uncompromising control is the only way she survives.
She manages everyone else's chaos, so she never has to sit with her own. Which makes her dynamic with Xavier Castillo so combustible.
Xavier being our unstoppable or maybe immovably relaxed force.
Right. He is the billionaire heir to the Castillo Group, this massive global empire founded by his father, Alberto Castillo. And Xavier has zero interest in any of it, none.
He is the titular king of Sloth.
Exactly. He's heavily tattooed, he spends his days partying, and his primary hobby just seems to be getting under Sloane's skin.
And the contrast is deliberate and very stark. Where Sloane is manicured and restrained, Xavier is introduced wearing low-slung sweatpants, displaying a chest covered in intricate, swirling tattoos.
And he actively delights in poking at her carefully constructed armor.
He really does. He refuses to use her professional name, opting for these condescending, overly familiar nicknames. He calls her Sloane, which she visibly despises.
Oh, she hates it.
And he calls her Luna.
The nickname Luna is so telling, isn't it? The moon. It implies she's cold, she's distant, she feels a million miles away, yet she entirely controls the tides of his life.
That's a great way to look at it.
But going back to that opening scene in the Greek villa, Sloane breaks in, dumps the ice water on him just to get him to this London gala. But the text gives us this incredible micro moment that complicates everything.
Oh, the reflex moment.
Yes. Before Xavier even fully wakes up, it's pure reflex. A strong hand shoots out, grabs her wrist, and in a fraction of a second, he has rolled over and pinned her to the bed.
180 pounds of solid muscle trapping her effortlessly.
It's wild.
It's a brilliant bit of characterization because it instantly shatters the illusion of his sloth. For just a fraction of a second, we see a flash of underlying intensity and lethal physical capability.
Right. He's not just a lazy, soft playboy.
Exactly. There is a coiled spring beneath that exterior. Now, when he opens his eyes and realizes it's Sloane, the perceived danger evaporates, and he immediately falls back into his laid-back persona.
He jokes that she could have just asked to join him in bed.
Right, but the reader, and crucially, Sloane has seen the mask slip.
But wait, let's talk about the power dynamic here, because it feels incredibly unbalanced. Technically, Sloane is his employee.
She is. She was hired 3 years prior by his father, Alberto.
And Alberto pays her triple her usual rate just to basically babysit Xavier. So Xavier is technically her boss's son, but she absolutely refuses to defer to him.
No deference whatsoever.
There's this flashback to their very first meeting that I think sets the tone perfectly. Xavier strolls into her pristine office on day one, kicks back in a guest chair, and props his feet up right on her desk.
Classic Xavier.
Yeah, and he gives her this sly, sparkling smile, totally expecting her to swoon or at least be intimidated by his wealth. And Sloane, she grips her favorite pen so hard that it literally cracks in her hand.
She breaks the pen.
She tells him to remove his feet and sit like an adult, or he can leave and explain to his father why his new publicist dropped him on day one.
It establishes a foundation of mutual respect, even if it is initially born out of hostility.
Yeah.
What Anna Huang is doing here is utilizing a beloved structural framework, the grumpy sunshine trope, but executing a very specific gender reversal.
Oh, interesting. Because usually...
Right. Historically in media, this trope features a brooding, grumpy, career-obsessed man and a bubbly, accommodating sunshine woman who teaches him how to enjoy life.
Yeah, that's the classic formula.
But here, Sloane is the grumpy, pragmatic, fiercely career-driven cynic. Xavier is the sunshine. He's the laid-back, smiling, easy-breezy figure.
Right. And honestly, if you've ever been told you care too much about your career, you will immediately recognize what Sloane is dealing with here. Society demands that women be the accommodating ones, the peacekeepers, the sunshine.
While men are culturally permitted, even praised for being brooding, serious, and singularly focused on their ambition.
Exactly. When a woman is singularly focused on her career, she's often labeled uptight or worse.
The social penalty for a woman who refuses to perform warmth is exceptionally high. And the text acknowledges this directly, right on the very first page.
Oh, the dedication.
Yes. The book's dedication reads, "To every woman who's ever been told to smile more, fuck that, do what you want."
I love that so much.
Sloane embodies that thesis statement. She refuses to soften her edges to make Xavier or anyone else more comfortable.
She is like a highly calibrated, immensely complicated Swiss watch.
Yeah.
Every gear, every tiny mechanism has to be perfectly aligned for her to function. And Xavier's just like a hammock on a breezy beach.
A hammock on a beach. That's a good analogy.
I wonder if his hammock persona, this performative sloth, is actually just as much of a defense mechanism as her tight bun and her color-coded schedules. Like, is it possible that being lazy is the only way he can protect himself?
That analogy holds up beautifully, provided we recognize that the hammock is strung between two very fragile trees.
Ooh, I like that.
His laid-back persona is not organic. It is a highly constructed refusal to engage with expectations. And the text reveals that this refusal is directly linked to the darkest part of his life.
His relationship with his father, Alberto.
Exactly.
Because that carefully balanced standoff they've maintained for 3 years couldn't last forever. The ultimate disruptor isn't a sudden change in their feelings, it's a massive structural change in the Castillo Empire.
The inciting incident of the plot.
Right. Alberto Castillo dies suddenly, and the environment immediately shifts from the bright, sunny terraces of Greece and Spain to the Castillo mansion in Bogota, Colombia.
A very different setting.
Completely different. The text describes this house as incredibly heavy. Cedar-paneled rooms, shadows everywhere, and a giant oil portrait of a stern, disapproving Alberto glaring down at them.
The physical weight of the location mirrors the psychological weight of the reading of the will.
I have to admit, when I got to this part of the source material, I was genuinely shocked by the level of posthumous manipulation. Let's look at who Alberto selects for this tribunal.
Yes, the Inheritance Committee.
Right. Alberto doesn't just hand over the billions, he creates this 5-person committee. We have Eduardo Aguilar, the interim CEO and essentially a surrogate uncle to Xavier. We have Martin Herrera, a level-headed relative by marriage. Mariana Acevedo, the chairwoman of the board.
All standard corporate figures so far.
Right. Then we have Dante Russo, a character from a previous book in the series, who is known for being an intense, rigid, terrifyingly competent businessman. And for the 5th member, he chooses Sloane Kensington.
It is a breathtakingly cruel tactical move.
It really is.
Alberto has effectively trapped them both. For Xavier, it forces him into an impossible position. He must step up and prove his worth to the very corporate system he despises, or lose his entire legacy to a board of directors.
And for Sloane?
For Sloane, the trap is arguably more insidious. Alberto has thrust her into a massive, structurally unethical conflict of interest.
Right. Like, how does a publicist even navigate that? Her entire job, the sole reason she is paid, is to manage his image, advocate for him, and keep him out of trouble. And now, suddenly, she holds a deciding vote over a global empire of thousands of employees and billions of dollars.
It's a complete paradigm shift.
The text describes her reaction so vividly. When her name is read aloud as a committee member, every head in the library swivels to her. She is sitting ramrod straight, her face pale.
She's in shock.
The narration notes, "For the first time since I'd met her, she resembled a deer caught in headlights." For a woman whose entire identity is built on controlling every single variable in a room, the rug has just been violently pulled out from under her.
The power dynamic immediately inverts. They are isolated in this heavy, oppressive mansion in Bogota. And shortly after the reading of the will, there is a pivotal scene in the study.
Oh, I know the one.
Xavier is reeling. He's feeling completely backed into a corner by his father's ghost. And Sloane steps up. But she doesn't offer him soft, coddling comfort.
No, she doesn't pat his hand and tell him it'll be okay. She gives him a brutally pragmatic reality check.
Exactly.
She walks over to this massive globe in the study. She points at it, reminding him that half of the countries on it are shaded red, representing the Castillo Empire. She tells him, "This is your inheritance, a global empire, thousands of employees."
She makes it real for him.
She warns him that because his father is dead, there is going to be a feeding frenzy, and everyone, including board members and competitors, will be out to take what they feel they deserve. She explicitly tells him he has to keep his hands to himself and his temper under control.
It's harsh, but it's exactly the grounding force he needs in that moment of panic.
Yeah, she doesn't let him spiral.
And it demonstrates that her professionalism isn't simply an ego trip or about preserving her own reputation. It is rooted in a deep, structural understanding of responsibility.
She sees the big picture.
She sees the thousands of livelihoods attached to his family name, even if he refuses to look at them. This forced proximity in Colombia acts as a pressure cooker. It begins to melt away Sloane's icy exterior. But crucially, it forces Sloane to finally look beneath Xavier's slothful exterior and understand the mechanism behind it.
Because, as Sloane discovers, Xavier is not lazy. Like, not even a little bit.
Not at all.
His refusal to engage with his father's company isn't born out of a desire to just lie around and drink cocktails. We find out about Xavier's backstory, and it is incredibly heavy.
It's a very dark history.
When he was a child, there was a fire. A fire that he accidentally started by lighting a candle, which tragically resulted in the death of his mother. And his father, Alberto, rather than getting his traumatized child into therapy, blamed him.
He weaponized the guilt?
He subjected Xavier to years of severe physical and emotional abuse. Alberto hated him, but because Xavier was the only heir, he still demanded Xavier take over the company and perform the role of the dutiful son.
It's a textbook case of a psychological double bind. The parent demands absolute loyalty and high performance, while simultaneously inflicting abuse and projecting hatred.
You literally can't win.
Xavier cannot win. If he succeeds in the company, he enriches the man who abuses him. If he fails, he validates his father's hatred. Xavier's response to this impossible situation was to weaponize the one thing his father couldn't control.
His own potential.
Exactly.
I was trying to wrap my head around this, and the metaphor that came to mind is this. It's like Xavier is a world-class sprinter, right?
Yeah.
He has all the fast twitch muscle and the stamina. But he refuses to run the race because he knows the track is rigged, the judges are corrupt, and the prize is poisoned.
Right.
So he just walks to the starting line and sits down. And because he's sitting there, everyone in the stands, including the society papers, just assumes he doesn't know how to run. They call him lazy. They call him a sloth.
You're right about the rigged race. But the problem is, by sitting on the starting line, Xavier is still letting his father dictate his relationship to the track.
Oh, that's true.
His entire identity is defined in opposition to Alberto. And the text provides visceral, permanent evidence of this rebellion.
The tattoos.
Yes. At one point, purely despite his father, Xavier gets a massive tattoo on his bicep of a rival family's crest. He knew exactly the kind of violence it would provoke.
He tells Sloane, "One year I came home with this and I left with scars."
The physical scars from his father's rage are the price he willingly paid for his defiance. His sloth is a suit of armor built out of spite and survival.
But wait, doesn't there come a point where that act of refusal just becomes like a convenient excuse for not taking responsibility? I mean, he has billions of dollars in unimaginable privilege. At what point is he just cutting off his nose to spite his face?
That is exactly the tension the book explores.
Yeah.
And the answer is that Xavier is taking responsibility, just entirely outside of his father's panopticon.
How so?
Underneath that armor of spite, he actually possesses incredible drive and ambition. It's just entirely hidden from the public eye. For one, he secretly sketches, which is a very quiet, vulnerable, creative outlet, the exact opposite of the ruthless corporate boardroom.
Right.
And more significantly, he is methodically planning to open a high-end, extremely exclusive nightclub in New York in 6 months.
Oh, he's not just daydreaming about it.
No, he is executing a complex business plan. He is having serious meetings with intense, intimidating figures, and here are some great Easter eggs for the fans of the broader universe, like Alice Volkov and Christian Harper, to secure elite security and logistics for his venue.
Oh, wow. Yeah, those are major cameos.
He is a shrewd, highly capable businessman. He just refuses to be his father's businessman.
It makes you wonder how often society mislabels trauma-induced paralysis or like active, quiet rebellion as simple laziness. We judge people's ambitions based entirely on what they produce for the capitalist machine, in plain sight, without ever considering the psychological cost of that production.
Exactly. For Xavier, his unproductivity in the Castillo group is his most profound act of self-preservation.
And as Sloane begins to understand the architecture of his trauma, she also starts to see his incredible capacity for empathy, which stands in direct, stark contrast to his father's cruelty.
Yes, the hospital scene.
There's this deeply poignant subplot where Xavier visits a hospital to see a 9-year-old girl named Pen. Pen is the younger sister of Rhea, who works for Xavier.
And the way he interacts with Pen is so revealing.
It really is. He doesn't show up with grand, empty billionaire gestures. He doesn't just cut a check and leave. He sits down and plays video games with her.
He treats her normally.
Yeah, he treats her like a normal, slightly terrifying, sarcastic 9-year-old kid, not like a fragile porcelain doll that's about to break. He meets her exactly where she is. He offers her normalcy, which is the rarest commodity when you're seriously ill.
That quiet, nurturing side is what really begins to dismantle Sloane's defenses. It all culminates in a moment of profound vulnerability late at night in the Bogota mansion.
Oh, the toast.
Yes. They are having drinks, the heavy atmosphere of the house pressing in on them, and the walls finally come down. They realize they are not just opposites, they are mirrors.
I love that.
They both have massive commitment issues, they both utilize control as a trauma response, and crucially, they both have deeply toxic relationships with their fathers. They raise their glasses in the dim light and they toast. Two monsters.
It honestly gave me chills reading it. They aren't publicist and client anymore in that moment. They are two survivors of parental toxicity acknowledging the shared shape of their wounds.
They finally see each other.
And it's that shared vulnerability that finally cracks the ice. Once that ice melts, it evaporates entirely. The physical boundaries are the first things to go.
The tension that has been building over 3 years of bickering and proximity finally ignites. We get this explosive, passionate kiss in the library at a place called Valhalla.
And true to her character, Sloane's immediate reaction is absolute, unadulterated panic.
Of course it is.
Her internal monologue during the fallout is fantastic. She realizes her hormones took the wheel and drove straight to Stupidville.
Stupidville.
She is terrified. She has built her entire life, her sterling reputation, on maintaining complete control and unimpeachable professional integrity. Getting intimately involved with a client, let alone the billionaire heir whose literal inheritance committee she currently sits on, is the ultimate violation of her own rigid code.
So she attempts to shove the genie back in the bottle. She tries to compartmentalize the lapse in judgment and return to their professional baseline.
Which never works.
No, but she tries. But the emotional breaking point arrives shortly after, and it comes from an entirely unexpected source.
Yeah, it really does.
The catalyst for Sloane's ultimate emotional surrender isn't a kidnapping or a corporate hostile takeover or a vicious paparazzi scandal.
No. It is the death of her pet goldfish, named, simply, the fish.
The psychological function of that goldfish is one of the most brilliant strokes in the text.
Okay, I have to admit, I was skeptical at first. I was reading this thinking, wait, are we really stopping this massive billionaire corporate drama plot to pry over a goldfish?
Right, it seems jarring.
But then the text explains why she has the fish, and it is absolutely gut-wrenching.
The fish is a physical manifestation of her intense isolation. She explains it perfectly. She liked having a fish because our roles were clear and our worlds never crossed.
Wow.
The fish stayed in its tank. She stayed in her apartment. The fish represents her highly controlled, deeply lonely life. It is the only living thing she allows herself to connect with because it requires zero emotional risk.
Because a goldfish can't hurt you.
Exactly. She doesn't have to fear a goldfish betraying her or judging her or demanding more than a pinch of flakes every day. It is safe intimacy.
So when the fish dies, she isn't just losing a pet. It is the sudden shattering of her safe, controlled microcosm. There is the scene where she finds the fish dead and she just breaks.
The care instructions?
Yes. She takes the meticulously typed, highly detailed care instructions she had written for the fish, because, of course, Sloane Kensington has meticulously typed care instructions for a $2 goldfish, and she just rips them in half.
It's a powerful image.
It is a total, devastating surrender to the chaos of grief. All the control she exerts over the public narrative, over Xavier's scandals, over her own family's rejection, fails to keep this one tiny, harmless thing alive.
And the true test of their dynamic is Xavier's reaction to this moment.
How so?
Well, a lesser character, or the superficial playboy persona he pretends to be, might have laughed. He might have minimized it. You know, it's just a goldfish. I'll buy you 100 more exotic ones tomorrow.
Right, throwing money at the problem.
But Xavier doesn't mock her. He immediately recognizes the profound depth of her pain. He holds her as she cries. He explicitly validates her grief, telling her, "You had him for years. It's normal to feel grief."
It completely reframes how we view romance in this genre. True intimacy isn't always about the grand, sweeping gestures. It's not the private jets to London or buying a private island to prove your love. It's the hyper-specific, deeply mundane moments of radical empathy.
Exactly.
It's someone holding you while you sob over a $2 fish and treating your broken heart with absolute reverence. He proves to her in that moment that he is safe.
He proves he can handle her vulnerability without exploiting it. And it creates this beautiful dichotomy within Sloane, because internally, with Xavier, she is grieving a goldfish and letting her guard down. But externally, to the rest of the world, she remains a fierce, terrifying protector of those she cares about.
Oh, her external ferocity never wavers. Right around this time, there is a rival PR rep named Perry who makes the mistake of crossing a line.
Oh, Perry.
Yeah, he's coming after a 22-year-old influencer client of Sloane's, trying to poach them or ruin their reputation. And Sloane unleashes on him. She promises to completely destroy his career, threatening to reduce him to writing cat food copy for Fast and Furious if he doesn't back off.
It's such a specific, hilarious threat.
And genuinely intimidating. It proves that her armor is still fully functional. She just no longer feels the need to wear it when she's alone with Xavier.
They begin to carve out these quiet, domestic moments together that stand in stark contrast to their glossy, high-stakes public lives. Sloane, the woman who controls global narratives, attempts to play Martha Stewart and bake chocolate chip cookies and cupcakes on a Friday night, which results in total messy failure.
And they watch terrible rom-coms together. There's this amazing scene where they watch a movie, and Sloane is literally taking notes in a notebook, writing these scathing professional reviews of the plot holes.
The bedroom lamp line?
Yes. She reads one aloud to Xavier, complaining about the utter ridiculousness of the dialogue, and says, "I have more chemistry with my bedroom lamp than the lead actors have with each other."
It highlights how comfortable they have become in their shared space. They're engaging in the mundane, silly rituals of a real partnership, but these quiet moments are a temporary reprieve.
Right, reality comes knocking.
They inevitably lead to the realization that the fantasy cannot remain isolated in her apartment. They can't go back to being just publicist and client. They have to face the real world, the inheritance committee, and the massive consequences of their relationship.
The bill comes due. Xavier has to finally confront his inheritance and face the committee that holds his future in their hands.
And this is where we see the character arcs truly synthesize. Sloane, sitting on that committee, has to cast a vote.
And what does she do?
She votes in his favor, naturally. But the way she communicates it shows how much she has grown. She playfully warns him that she's only doing this for his money. It's a return to their earlier banter, but the hostility is completely gone. It's replaced by profound trust and an acknowledgement of his true worth.
And Xavier steps up. He successfully launches his nightclub in New York. He proves to the committee, to the society papers, but mostly to himself, that he is highly capable, a brilliant businessman, and he can build an empire entirely outside of his father's toxic shadow.
He reclaims the narrative.
He finally reclaims his narrative. He stops sitting on the starting line of the rigged race and builds his own track.
If we look at the psychological resolution here, it's beautifully balanced. Sloane learns that she doesn't have to be perfectly composed and in control 24/7 to be worthy of love and respect.
Like the nightclub scene.
Exactly. There's a brilliant scene earlier in the text where she actually gets delightfully, sloppily drunk at a nightclub. She fights off some guys making a pass at her, and she is somehow still utterly graceful. She shocks Xavier. She learns she can be messy, and the world won't end.
And Xavier learns that applying his energy, his brilliance, to something he actually loves, whether that's his nightclub business or his relationship with Sloane, is not a betrayal of his rebellion against his father.
He doesn't have to be a sloth to be his own man.
Right. He can be passionate and successful on his own terms. Huang uses humor and banter so masterfully to balance these really heavy themes of abuse, grief, and societal pressure. The author explicitly notes in her acknowledgments that this book is a love letter to rom-coms.
And it shows.
It really does. It has the pacing and the sparkle of a romantic comedy, but it is deeply grounded in legitimate, hard-earned psychological growth.
And the ending provides the emotional payoff the reader has been waiting for. It is, as the text self-awarely notes, nauseatingly, disgustingly blissful.
So good.
They move into a townhouse together. They have completely obliterated the professional boundaries that kept them apart. They have a rooftop movie theater where they can watch terrible movies and write scathing reviews.
And crucially, they have a brand new pet fish.
Yes, named Feisty the Fish.
It's the perfect symbol of a new, shared life that is vibrant, a little chaotic, and alive, rather than isolated and desperately controlled. And for the readers who love to dig into the details, Huang leaves these incredibly fun Easter eggs scattered throughout the resolution.
Yeah, the playlist.
Yes. She provides a musical playlist for the book, spanning everything from Taylor Swift's Midnight Rain to Arctic Monkeys' I Wanna Be Yours, which perfectly captures the melancholic but intense vibe of the story.
And she sets up the future books, too.
She leaves major teases for the next books in the universe. We get hints about Asher Donovan's story in The Striker and the upcoming journey for Vuk and Ayana in King of Envy. It makes the world feel so lived in and expansive.
It's a very satisfying conclusion to a narrative journey that started with a great deal of animosity, a tightly wound publicist, and a bowl of freezing ice water.
We've covered a lot of ground today. We unpacked the complete subversion of the grumpy sunshine trope, looking at how society punishes women for ambition while rewarding men for brooding.
Right.
We waded through the incredible manipulations of a billionaire's posthumous will and the impossible ethical traps of an inheritance committee. We stripped back the layers of trauma and active rebellion hiding beneath the label of sloth, and we navigated the profound, completely unexpected emotional weight of mourning a $2 pet goldfish.
It is a testament to the fact that the romance genre, when executed with this level of psychological insight, is a powerful vehicle for exploring the human condition. It asks us to look closely at how we build our armor, why we build it, and what it finally takes to feel safe enough to take it off.
That brings me to a final thought I want to leave you with today. We talked a lot about Xavier's sloth being an active boundary against a toxic life he refused to participate in. It makes you wonder, in our own lives, How often do we judge ourselves or judge the people around us for being unproductive or lazy?
That's a great question.
When really maybe we or they are just actively refusing to run a race we never signed up for. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the narratives around you, keep learning, and please remember the dedication of this book. Never let anyone tell you to smile more. Do what you want.